Have you noticed that your convictions sometimes are in conflict with your practice? Sometimes you find yourself believing one thing about God or about yourself and doing something else, doing something that actually doesn't match. Your conviction is one thing and your practice sometimes is another thing. I have found in my own journey that sometimes, even though I have great convictions about God and His Word, sometimes I prefer to do something else other than that to follow that conviction. It's not like I want to lie, I want to deceive myself. It's that sometimes reality invites us to practice our ideologies, our ideas into the real, movement of life. It's not that ideas or ideologies are bad. It's that convictions are always tested in real time. For instance, when you find hard to pray for somebody, when you, even though it's not probably your enemy, but it's somebody that you dislike, and you probably will avoid praying for that person or bringing that person's name into the conversation. I think that is a normal human behavior. Jonah, one of our friends in the Bible, went through that experience. Remember Jonah? When we read about him, it's only 4 chapters in the book of Jonah. However, it's a great story that reveals a lot about Jonah, a lot about God, and a lot about life. Chapter 3, verse 10 of Jonah says, God saw what they had done, that they had turned away from their evil lives. He did change his mind about them. What he said he would do to them, he didn't do. And then if you leave that story right there and you don't do anything else, and you just read all the way from chapter 1 to chapter 3, you will figure out that that's the great ending. That's actually a great ending to that story. But the writer didn't allow us to do that. The writer made sure to actually say what was Jonah's response. You can see chapter 4, verse 1 through 11. That's Jonah's response and God's responses to. Jonah was furious. Wow. God had forgiven the people of Nineveh, and Jonah was not celebrating. Jonah, the prophet of God, was actually furious. Have you ever felt furious? Actually upset, discouraged, disappointed because maybe God has not done what you had been expecting God to do. Maybe God has not answered you in the way that you had been anticipating God will. Well, Jonah was furious. He lost his temper. Have you ever lost your temper? I bet you have several times like I had. He yelled at God. God, I knew it. When I was back home, I knew this was going to happen. Wow. Had you ever yelled at God? Okay. That's why he says, I ran off to Tarshish. I knew you were sheer grace and mercy, not easily angered, rich in love, and ready at the drop of a hat to turn your plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. Wow. Look at the theological, biblical, prophetic convictions that Jonah had about God. God, he says, is a God who is rich in love, is sheer grace and mercy, and not easily angered, and someone who is ready to change his plans of punishment into a program of forgiveness. You will think that you will have a different ending with Jonah having these convictions and these beliefs. Well, don't be surprised, because we do the same. Sometimes we behave contrary to our convictions, but there is always hope. So he says, so God, if you won't kill them, kill me. I am better off dead. I hope you never wish to be dead. I want to tell you that you are a great gift to this earth, to this planet, to your family, to this society. So if you are entertaining those thoughts, look for help. Ask for help, because you are valuable, and this earth is not the same without you. All right? But Jonah, God asked, verse 4, what do you have to be angry about? But Jonah just left. So he left. He didn't continue talking to God. He went out of the city to the east and sat down in an inn and sulked. He put together a makeshift shelter of leafy branches and sat there in the shade to see what will happen to the city. He's still waiting to see if God will change his mind and will do something different. And then God arranged for a broad-leafed tree to spring out. It grew over Jonah to cool him off and get him out of his angry sulk. Jonah was pleased and enjoyed the shade. Life was looking up. Life was looking up for him. He was feeling better. He was feeling great. And God knows that we need sometimes some relief, some small blessings to keep up, to deal with anger, with our frustration, with our lament. And yet God, verse 7 and 8 says, but then God sent a worm by dawn, and the next day the worm had bored into the shade tree and withered away. The sun came up, and God sent a hot, blistering wind from the east. The sun beat down on Jonah's head, and he started to faint, and he prayed to die. I am better off dead. Then God said to Jonah, what right do you have to get angry about this shade tree? Jonah said, plenty of right. It has made me angry enough to die. God said, what is this? How is it that you can change your feelings from pleasure to anger overnight about a mere shade tree that you did nothing to get? You neither planted nor watered it. It grew up on one night and died the next night. So why can't I likewise change what I feel about Nineveh from anger to pleasure? Right? This is a big city, more than 120,000 childlike people who don't yet know right from wrong, to say nothing of all the innocent animals. So basically, God is telling Jonah, if you can change from anger and frustration to pleasure for a plant, I also can change my rage for pleasure, for a city that repents and change their lives. Basically, God is inviting Jonah to put aside his small complaints in comparison to God's complaints and to God's sorrows, and bring about the transformation and the conciliation and forgiveness, the plan of forgiveness that he had for Nineveh. I hope you continue to be a blessing to others. I hope you can actually remember that your uncomfortability and my uncomfortability with other people's shortcomings are small in comparison to God's grace, mercy, and forgiveness. Have a great day. This is Dr. Alfredo Delgado speaking to you from Southern California. Share this news with other people, and may God bless you mightily. Bye-bye.